Hello and welcome to the Comedian's Outlook, the show where I, Luke Anthony, speak to fellow comedians about life, comedy and everything in between. I just want to say thank you so much for your wonderful feedback that I got about my conversation with Matt Price. He's such a great man. Please do subscribe, rate and review the podcast wherever you listen to it. It really does help. And I've got some awesome episodes coming your way. Firstly, I've got Sean McLaughlin, who is currently supporting Ricky Gervais around the world, and the woke feminist geezer, yes, you've guessed it, the one and only, the coolest man in comedy, Rich Wilson, who's coming up soon too. But for this episode, I was joined by the amazing Anoushka Rava. She has been acting since a very young age, was classically trained in acting by LAMDA, and has recently embarked on her comedy journey. We speak about status, the difference between acting versus stand-up, and how culturally diverse she really is, and so much more. So please welcome to the show, the amazing, the wonderful, the hilarious, the beautiful Anoushka Rava. Yes, well, thank you so much for joining me, Anoushka. It's great to see you. You're a French Iranian actress and comedian.
Yes.
And when did you start in the arts?
At 8 years old, I started taking classes. Funny enough, I started doing like impersonations and accents when I was 5, and this teacher wrote to my parents saying I had a weird voice and I needed to check it because I needed to have less of a deep voice. I was like 5 years old. So that was quite traumatizing. And now I'm like, well, guess who's winning? Because my voice is my instrument and I record audibles. So I really want to find this teacher, Madame Robineau, because I was quite traumatized by her when I was a kid.
So I didn't. So you're an actress, but you're a voice actress as well. So you do audiobooks too.
Yes. For Audible. My niche is the Iranian accent in English. So I did Arabian Nights with Omid Jalili, who's also a British Iranian comedian, and Volume 1 and 2. That was really fun. Days in the Caucasus and Caucasus. Oh my God, I had such a hard time saying that. And then,
She's just lost that contract.
Yeah. And, What We Owe as well was the other one. It was fun.
Okay.
Love it.
But you started doing like impressions and accents at like 5 years old.
Yeah, I don't know. Like I just was playing with my voice and I was imitating this famous cook, Maite, and I would go around the class and, pretend I was her and I don't know, just make people laugh when I was a kid. And the African accent and French and because I grew up in Paris, I forgot to mention. But so it was accents in French, so I would do like this southern accent and just watch a lot of comedies and try to imitate people. And then I thought, okay, I don't know, I was watching these movies and I told my mom, what could I do like to be there basically? And I asked her if I could start taking acting classes, so I did.
Okay, she was just happy with that?
Yeah, she was. My father less so, but I mean, he thought it was just a hobby, and he thought I'd get over it, but I didn't.
And 15 years later, you're doing this still now.
Yes, it was quite a different path, like because I went off of it back into it, like because my father, he wasn't really keen for me to follow that career professionally. So when I finished high school, I was quite a good student. So he was like, listen, I want you to continue, but do like something useful because I wanted to study acting or filmmaking. And he said he wouldn't pay for my tuition if that was the route I wanted to take. And so I had to study communications. I thought, okay, what else can I do that's not too annoying? So I did communications and with a minor in like a lot of journalism classes. And my first job was as a media consultant in Ivory Coast.
Oh wow! Of all the places, what?
Yeah.
What brought you to Ivory Coast? Was it just like the experience? You thought, this would be interesting.
Well, basically, I got hired by this company, Alpha Press, and in the interview process, they said, "Listen, are you ready to go anywhere?" And that was the deal. And so I was like, "Yeah, okay." And then just 2 weeks after I was hired, they said, "Okay, we have this project starting in Abidjan. You're leaving in 2 weeks." I was like, "Okay," because they were looking for a French-speaking person to conduct the interviews there for the independent newspaper. So we had to translate. I was with 2 other people, and we had to translate from French to English. It was really interesting. I had never been to Africa in my life. It was a very eye-opening experience as well. A different culture. It was good. But after that, I thought, okay, I know I can do that, and then I decided to go to Lambda.
Yeah, so you did some youth theatre courses. Well, between like 9 and 15. So your teenagehood was very much within the acting world.
Yeah.
And then you got like some professional acting training at Lambda.
Yes. After that, I thought I wanted to, because the youth training was in Paris. It was like twice a week, like Cours Florent, Cours Simon. It's like, I'd say there's no national youth theatre in France, but these would be the equivalent classes, like youth training.
I'm just going to do the equivalent to subtitles now. That was Sylvia Young and Cours Simon.
Cours Simon, yes.
Yeah.
Sylvia Young was in London, actually. I did musical theatre summer courses in London.
Okay.
Yeah.
Lost in the beautiful French accent. I thought you had said Sylvia Young as well.
No, Cours Florent and Cours Simon. That was in Paris.
Wow.
Yeah.
French makes everything sound sexier. It's weird.
Yeah.
Do you ride that wave? Do you ride the French wave? You love that?
Yeah, I do. Not as much as I could, actually, because I feel like more international than just French, because I grew up in École Active Bilingue. It's like a bilingual school, so you have a lot of people that are French American or British French, like. And also, I used to always come to visit my father, who was living in London, still does. And yeah, I mean, I grew up in Paris. I feel very French, but I also went to boarding schools with a lot of very international people. So I feel like I have more of an international outlook on the world than just French.
Yeah, I mean, how does your outlook on life sort of compare to the Parisian kind of stereotypical outlook on life that people seem to?
So when people meet me and I say I'm French, they're like, no, you're joking. You're too nice to be French.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Which I was like, what did you girls do to people that they have such a bad opinion of French girls? Or like French in general. But yeah, no, it's just, I feel like I do have this French mentality, and all my cultural references are French. Just because, from the theater school that I went to when I was a kid, studying Molière, Corneille, all these very classical French playwrights. Also, all the movies I've watched, the museums I'd go to, and the artists I know are very, very French. But also having like an Iranian, father, I also have that Middle Eastern in me. I'm very, I guess, more open, I suppose, which is weird. But I feel like the French are very. How to say, like, I feel like there's a very different aspect when you're bicultural, because like my French family, they're I love them, and I love both my families, but I just realized how the Iranian family is more like soudé. Sorry, I have to find the word. They help each other out more, like the Iranians. Okay. It's like more close. There's like a real community sense. Then the French don't really, like my Iranian grandmother, she would like always call me like, oh, if I go to visit her, she's like, I haven't seen you in a week. You don't think about me. What's up? I'm like, I'm here now. Like, what do you want from me? But my French grandma, she's like more chill. It's just different.
Isn't that more like capitals though, isn't it? Like,
yeah.
Like London's the same. Cambridge is the same, to be honest. Like with Cambridge, everyone's in a rush. Like years back, I used to work in a cafe as a manager. And everyone wanted their coffee yesterday. Like 20 seconds, that's way too long to get a coffee. It's crazy, and they just want to get the coffee and go. Whereas you get up to the villages, and actually, if you don't spend the time with the customer, that's where you get the complaints, because you haven't spent that time.
See, I love that aspect of things, just to like have the time. I mean, Iranians are always late, by the way. I'm just saying. So that's the thing. I'm like, I don't know why, but it's just, I suppose. You just chill in life and just take things as they go, like, whereas I suppose the French are they also do. I don't know, it's weird. I feel like the French also are chilled, but in a different way.
They're chilled when they're having dinner in the evening, and they'll drink a glass of wine over 6 hours.
I go to Paris, everyone's sitting in a terrace, like at 3 p.m. Like, where are they? Like, doesn't no one work here? What is this? Well, yeah, I feel like in London it's very more dynamic than Paris for some reason. I don't know. I feel like I'm working. I do so much more when I'm in London than when I'm in Paris for some reason.
It's because nothing's open in Paris. They close at weird times.
Yeah.
I want something to eat. No, you have to get that in the morning when you get your croissant and your baguette from the local shop.
Yeah,
you know?
It's true. I feel like in London there's this like 24-hour type of like New York type of vibe. Whereas Paris is like hours are the hours, you know. If you go to the post office at 5, it's closed at like 4:50. You know, it's different vibe.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So with that kind of French/Iranian background, clearly there's an element to that. There's the humorous. There's material from that, and like you predominantly got experience in acting, and you've been quite successful at that. You know, you've produced, wrote, and directed your own film called Connected, which we'll talk about. But you've had a recent revelation with like comedy coming into your world. I mean, you've done comedy acting,
Yeah.
but you've recently taken to the stage to stand up.
Yeah. Oh my God. It was. I feel like it was such a journey to get to where I am now. Like if I connect the dots backwards, I've always enjoyed making people laugh. Like since I was a kid. Like I was telling you, I was making my other classmates laugh, and I would do all these like shows at the end of each semester. I would go in front of the class and just do my 1 hour show with this good friend of mine, Julia Van Hagen. We're still very good friends. So the two of us go up there and do impersonations. This was like when we were 10 years old, you know. And then I don't know. Yeah, I figured I straight acting was all like I say straight acting as in like theater, like classical plays and stuff. I kind of derailed myself in that, and then last year, I don't know, it sounds weird, like I did a lot of self-development workshops, and that was really helpful. There was this French director who told me, but you're actually a funny girl, you know, like, and he kind of revealed to myself like what I kind of was hiding for some reason. And it's like in my intimate life, I'm quite, you know, like a funny person, but I never like went on stage really to just do stand up. And he said that to me, and then I was like, actually, I should maybe try to explore that part of myself, which I had when I was younger, I suppose. And then growing up, you kind of forget that childishness, and you know, try to fit in society and be like everybody else, stupidly, but yeah. And then I was like, okay, no, I have this thing and I want to explore that. And then I went to Burning Man in the middle of the desert. It's this festival, and then I did these breathwork exercises, and you figure out yourself, like, I know it sounds a little, you know, subliminal, but yeah, this breathwork coach, he was doing this guided meditation and asking, so what did you want to do when you were a kid? And you go into that zone, and I was like, oh yeah, I really enjoyed making people laugh. Like that was what I wanted to do, and I kind of forgot that when I like became a young adult, and then he said, okay, so what are you doing now? Does that correspond to what you had as an image when you were a kid? And I thought to myself, well, I'm close, like I'm acting, it's cool, but actually I thought, yeah, comedy was more what I really wanted to do. And then I joined this improv group. So I'm just saying, because it's weird, like all these events that kind of connected the dots. So I got into this French British improvisation group called FBI, and one of the members organized stand-up shows in French and English. And so I did one of them a year ago, and it went really well. And so then I continued, and then I've been doing over 60 gigs now. I mean, it's nothing. I'm just at the beginning of it, but it was an exciting year for me. I really enjoyed it. Yeah.
So I've seen I've seen your stuff, and it's great. Yeah. I really enjoyed it. I think you touched on some really like interesting topics in your comedy. So when you went about from being sort of, you know, writing film to performing on stage as a comedian, where you've got to get like a fast hit rate of jokes in, how did you go about building your material?
So that's really interesting, because I was trying to adapt this short film that I did connected into a feature film, and weirdly enough, the way that I was writing was more fitting to as like a stand-up format, because I was just having a hard time doing all the chronology, and I was reading all these books about writing, the story, Save the Cat, all of these. And then I was rereading the scenes that I wrote, and it was just, I thought, okay, that would fit into like a stand-up, because it was like those short scenes that worked independently. And so then I took the material that I started writing for my feature film, all these ideas about, because I wanted to write about my father, who's handsome, and like that DILF concept, Dad, I'd like to talk about that. So that was like material that I wanted to do for a feature.
I can confirm for the podcast, he's a very sexy man.
Oh my God, did you check him out?
I did, of course.
Yeah. So then I thought, okay, I'm gonna take that material and put it into my comedy, because I thought, yeah, it works as a little sketch like bit. And being multicultural, all of those themes, then I kind of, got all the setups from the material that I wrote for the feature film, and then I wrote all the setups down. And that's how I started writing my set for the first gig that I did. And then I had like to add the punchlines into them and like the transitions. But then it worked actually as a comedy piece.
As a stand-up piece.
As a stand-up piece, okay. Yeah.
And so how long was that at the time? 5 minutes? In London, you tend to start on the 5 minute.
Yeah, I did. Yeah, that was 5 minutes. Now I do 10 minutes in different gigs sometimes. But yeah, mainly 5.
You know, in Cambridge and outside of London, we don't tend to start on 5s. Oh. Unless it's like a proper open mic. Everyone sort of tries to give you 10 minutes unless you're a little bit out of your depth.
Really?
Yeah, just because the quicker you can get from a 5 to a 10, the better, really.
Yeah, definitely. I did a 10 minute yesterday. It felt really good, but I feel like, everyone has to go through down that route where at the beginning you get to know get to know all the different comedy clubs, and people don't know you. You have to get your work out there, basically.
And London's particularly like that, where you just have to do the 5.
Yeah. But I've been lucky because it's like people see you, and then a lot of the comedians also run their own nights, and then they ask you to come over to their nights. It's a very supportive industry, I'd say, even more so than within the acting industry, I want to say. Should I say that? I don't know.
No, that's fine. Actually, let me say it, because I don't really act that much anymore, so I can't really burn any bridges. However, if you've got any acting work, I'm available for auditions, and I'm very good at voiceover work, as you can hear. But I did find that there's an element of pretense to acting, particularly in theatre. Yeah. And that's fine. That comes with it. Whereas comedy is a bit more kind of, you're creating what you're creating, and then it's coming from your heart. And especially if you tell, you do anecdotes and you do stuff like that. So comedy, you're giving a little bit more of yourself to, in terms of your, especially like if you're a one-liner comedian, you can separate personality and your personal life from the jokes, because they're just jokes. But when you're trying to get someone on side with your personality and your story and your past, you really have to delve deep into that, and some of the stuff we speak about could, are connected to difficult things that we've been through.
I feel that's probably part of it too, because I feel like when you're an actor, you don't write your own material, so you're just kind of like waiting around to please some casting director and producer. Whereas what I feel like has been helpful in the comedy world is that you can write your own material and just go out there and share with the audience, and it's more of a direct feedback that you get, from the laughs. Like it's a very solitary world as well, I want to say. Like you write by yourself, you perform by yourself, so it's a different dynamic than when you're doing a theater play, and then you have a troupe, an ensemble cast, and like everyone works together. So I guess comedy is quite solitary, but then you get the support from other comedians, because I guess people know how hard it is to be vulnerable and just talk about your personal stories in front of unknown people. So I guess in that sense, maybe there's more solidarity, because there's no competition. We're all so different. Like we're all, I've met other people that had like similar like multicultural stories and stuff, but we all have our own voices, so I feel like there's more space for everyone basically, whereas when you're competing for one role, you got to correspond to what they're looking for. Whereas as a comedian, you offer yourself to the world, I want to say, and your stories, and it's just about how much you want to share. And I feel like when you're going at that deep, as you said, like sharing your personal stories, people want to help out because there's this authenticity, and you're just genuinely sharing your stories, and it's a very vulnerable position to be in. And I feel like people want to help more in those cases. That's what I've noticed, actually. Yeah.
Now, as somebody who is clearly a brilliant actress and a great writer and very good at your voiceover work that you do for Audible, looking for sponsors, by the way, Audible. If you want to publish on this podcast, you're very welcome to. You clearly, established in that sense. You've got the respect from that side of things, and you've got the confidence from years of work in acting and writing and everything. Then going to the beginning of something where you're a novice again.
Yeah.
And you've got to start all over again, because no matter how good of a writer you are, being on stage is very different. And as a comedian, it's very different to being in a play, because you've got so many people to support you around you.
Yeah.
How did that impact your self-esteem?
Gosh. Oh, wow. It was quite a boosting experience for my self-esteem, to be honest, because you feel that people are really rooting for you, like people come here to laugh, and they're, how sometimes you feel like as an actress you're being judged more so like just for your performance, and if you mess up, and then other actors will be like, oh, you weren't good tonight or whatever. Whereas I feel like it's also a different audience that comes to see comedy, and they're just here to have a good time, and they're not there to judge you, as in they're happy if they're laughing, and just they want you to do well, I suppose. So that was quite good for my self-esteem as well, I'd say, just because I don't know, maybe it sounds weird, but I'm not as confident as I maybe come across, She
just had to caveat that. That's
sorry?
Fine. She just had to caveat the shit out of that. That's fine.
Yeah. No, sorry, but it's true, because like a lot of people say, when you come across like maybe having a higher status, and I'm like, no, guys, I'm not as confident as that. Like, it's not as easy for me to go up there. But it's just, I love hearing the laughs, like you're working by yourself at home like an idiot, you don't know what's funny or not, and then having the approbation of the audience, that's really rewarding.
There's a real glorified thing about like comedy where we think, oh yeah, writing, the autonomy of being able to write and do your own stuff, but really what it is just us gaping into a blank space, drawling from our mouth, just trying to come up with something great.
Yeah, literally.
And if you were to film that, it would look bloody awful.
Yeah, I must look really dumb. Like I'm doing improv by myself and trying to see what's funny or not, and I'm recording myself like doing voice notes. I'm in the subway, right? I'm like, I see stuff and I observe things, and then I'm like, wait, I can't, because I know myself. I used to do that mistake where I thought I would remember it and never. So now I record everything in my voice note. I'm in the subway and I'm like, da 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 da. People looking at me like I'm this creep, And then you go home and you try to make sense of what you observed in the subway and try to subvert it and make it funny. And then you try it in front of an audience. But yeah, as you said, you're alone at home. You don't know what's gonna land or not.
You've also been relatively, you've been to the Golden Globes and been to the big parties in America with acting, but you found a new passion in comedy. So, and you've like us comedians, we perform in Europe. We've been to we perform in Germany and all over Europe and things like that, and France. But you performed in France, but in French.
Yes, as well. I write in both, which is quite challenging, but it's also interesting because I get to explore both languages. I'm bilingual and I know both cultures quite well. But for some reason, I feel like English lends itself more to comedy because there's a lot of double meanings, and just you can say what you want to say in 3 words in English, whereas it would take you 10 words in French. French is a very poetic language.
As we established earlier on.
Yes, exactly. But I love writing in both. It's just having, because I've gigged more in English, so I guess now bizarrely I'm more comfortable with performing in English, the stand up. But yeah, I'm doing a 10-minute one in November in French in London, so that should be interesting because it's like a bilingual community. And also I performed in English in Paris.
You did?
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, at the Paname Cafe and this other place called Comedy Lab. And it was quite interesting because there were a lot of tourists, obviously, in the audience. So it's just interesting to see how the same material, because I took the same material that I perform in London, in Paris, and it lands equally, actually. Like they laugh at the same jokes. So it's like you got to find the universal aspect of comedy because despite the fact that humor is very cultural, I think there are some universal themes that you can play around with and that everyone can connect with. So that's the type of comedy I want to do because I don't feel like I'm one humor versus the other. I mean, I grew up in Paris, but then I watched a lot of English and American comedians. So I feel like I'm inspired by different types of comedy, and yeah, that's kind of what I want to do in my sets, like kind of try to find universal grounds, that people can identify with. Yeah.
So I watched your backyard video.
Oh yes.
There, yeah. Very good room. I love that room.
Yeah.
I always think if you die in that room, then you should question whether you should be doing comedy or not. And because it's a very, very welcoming, like sort of nice room.
Yeah.
But in France, I've seen your video you've done in France. I didn't understand a word of it, but the way you present yourself on stage is very much different. Like you're able to get away with a slightly higher status on the French scene in French.
That's
interesting. Have you noticed that in the two different?
Yeah, I feel like maybe it's because I feel like the French have more of a fashion sense, I want to say, than the Brits.
and us Brits have got really bad teeth.
As in, like, they won't judge me just because I'm wearing something a bit more high end than just other comedians maybe or whatever, and I can get away with it. Whereas here in England, you really got to be low key, you know, like, because I don't know. Yeah, I feel like maybe that's why. Which one did you see? When I'm wearing the black outfit, like the.
I think so. Yeah, I haven't remembered that.
Yeah, that was my first set ever.
To be honest, really?
Yeah.
Okay, the French one.
Yeah, that was in French. That was actually in London. The first set I did, but it's true. It was in French in London.
Oh, okay, wow.
Yeah, but
you got a really good reaction.
Yeah. Oh, thank you. Yeah, but you didn't understand a word. It's just the physicality that you saw, right? I mean.
Well, I couldn't quite remember what clothes you were wearing.
Oh right, no, sorry, because I'm trying to think which one you saw.
No, I think it's probably is the one, but it just the way you presented yourself was different to your others. I mean, it's you shouldn't publish too many videos.
Well, maybe
anyway,
I think that's when I think that was my first one. I guess at that point I didn't really know like how you're supposed to present yourself or, you know, and at this point I was like, I don't care. I'm just going to be myself. I've never done it. Let's see. And then that's when the persona stuff kicked in because I thought, okay, if I want to talk about everything that I maybe have to go for more neutral outfits. and that's when I started being a little more low key maybe. Yeah, I think that's what happened.
Okay.
Because I thought, I don't want to appear high status too much because I'm just starting out. Maybe after, I'll be like, okay, I'm gonna rock all these outfits. I don't care. But for now, I feel like just because I'm, you know, still new and stuff, maybe I'm trying to fit in at some point. I don't know. Maybe that's not good. But
be authentic. Be yourself. The thing is with like comedy, if you get to a point where you're very successful, comedy is so subjective. You know, you'll have as many people who hate you as you do love you. So you'll still sell out rooms and you'll still sell out your gigs at that point with your personality and what you do. you just have to accept that then the other half of people hate you, and you'll never get away with that.
Because I swear I want to wear heels sometimes, like wear sexy dresses, like just like I'm gonna go party, whatever. But I think it's not the right place, to do that.
I think the only way you can do that in comedy is if it's ironic.
Yeah.
And then there's something about you that different about the way you're going to do it. That there's a reason. I'm just rambling now, but I think I've seen comedians who really, really dress up good and like really smart.
Yeah.
But it's a joke because the stuff they're talking about contradicts it. So then it's the opposite. But then if you come across as confident in the way you present yourself, and then your material. So
it's like almost a character act, basically.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, I guess,
okay.
And that's fine. You can. Yeah. That's all right. But I think the beautiful thing about comedy is that you did acting. You've been acting where you become someone else, and you become another character, and you draw on obviously experiences, been there, done that, and that's great. But with comedy, you can't lie about comedy. You are who you are, and you can't insult an audience with that arrogance there, and to think that you're going to fool them with something. They're going to see through it.
Yeah, that's true. Also, touching about that, I was just trying to think how it did take me a while to have to deconstruct what I had learned as an actress for comedy, because, like, I feel the need, like, I need to learn what I wrote. Like, I guess that's a disadvantage of, like, still having this acting background. And so now I'm trying to not learn my lines as I would as an actress, and just go with the flow and just have, like, guidelines of what I'm going to talk about to just really connect with the audience. Because before I would try to remember like a word by word, and you can't do that as a comedian, because then you can't really connect with the audience. So that's one thing that I feel like the stepping from being an actress to a comedian, that kind of you got to deconstruct stuff that you have these muscle memories. And I would say a line in a way, okay, this is where people are meant to laugh. I would kind of direct the laughs, and so now it's good. It's quite informational to have the feedback of the audience straight away, because now I'm like hearing laughs where I didn't think that was where the laughs were supposed to be. So now I understand I can't really say a line like da-da-da-da and laugh. It's just be yourself and deliver whatever you have like in your mind straight away. And be more spontaneous and authentic with the audience. So that was kind of a good exercise for me to change from learning lines, super classical way, and then just being more genuine on stage.
She is still a fantastic actress, and she's available for bookings. Particularly good at audiobooks for Audible. Just dropping your name there again, Audible, if you want to get in touch.
Oh, yeah.
I've also got a nice voice. What is their slogan?
I'm not sure.
Oh, you should remember this.
No, at the end there's just the end credits. This has been an Audible production.
That's the one. Yeah, that's the one.
Read by Anoushka Rava, whatever. Yeah, yeah.
That's exactly how she says it. Again, I can clip that out and you can put that in your show reel if you like.
Yeah. What did it? And then there's a guy who's like, Audible hopes you enjoyed this production. I think there's this one guy at the end, after the end credits, that says that.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay. You just have to get a little word in.
They're fun. Audibles are fun.
How long do they take to do? Like, if you're doing
I took 2.5 days because I did one where like it's 8 hours of my voice with the Iranian accent, but it was fun. And I have another one 4.5 hours, and that took 1.5 days to do, something like that. Yeah. And the Arabian Nights, it wasn't only me; it was like the whole ensemble cast. So I don't know how long that.
Okay, so you read the audiobooks, and that's the thing though. Like when you do voiceover work, it's like money for old rope. It's so easy. You go in, read a script for like an advert. You're there for all of 1 hour, and you're out the door, and it's really well paid for the time you're there. Whereas an audiobook is like you're there for a fucking long time.
Yes.
And if you don't say it in the right way, you got to keep repeating it. I remember Stephen Fry, who's one of the best readers of. I
was so proud because I went to the Amazon Development Center, and his picture was there with like alongside all the actors that came here to record audiobooks. I was like, wow, this is so nice. And
then there's just like you just brought like a little passport photo and just stuck it next to him. I'm on the same wall as Stephen Fry, and he's an absolute pro, and he's incredible at doing them. But there was one word he couldn't say right. He wanted to change a word that I think it was for the Harry Potter books.
Ah.
And, just imagine they've been there for ages trying to pronounce this one word. I was on the radio yesterday and I was trying to pronounce the word commemoration.
Okay.
I'm saying it correctly now because it took me ages on air and off air to say it.
Oh, yeah?
But it just, the triple M just got me.
Commemoration.
Yeah.
Okay. What were we saying instead? Like, what were you...
I was trying to say commemoration.
Okay.
But I was going to
Okay. I had such a hard time with the word Caucasus. You guys say Caucasus?
Caucasus, yeah.
And it was the title, Days in the Caucasus. So the sound engineer was like, Caucasus. Like, oh my God. I was saying Caucasus or whatever I was saying. I don't know.
I'd just been like, excuse me, do you want to come and do this? Do you want to come and do the voiceover work? Or are you the guy recording it? What?
Exactly. I was
Who's
like,
here for this?
Yeah, Caucasus. Yeah, now I know. You live and learn.
Live and learn. Okay, so what's your plan for the next year then?
So I have never done the Edinburgh Fringe, and I really want to do it. So I would love to have enough material to do half an hour, and then someone else do the other half an hour, which I know is very ambitious because I only have 10, like a solid 10 now. So yeah, we'll see if I can write another 20 minutes. Otherwise, I'll try to get I'll do 20 minutes and then another two do 20 minutes. We'll see. But yeah, I'm writing towards that goal.
Okay.
Yeah.
The other way to do it, you can sometimes do one where I think someone did a 20 and a 40.
Oh.
So, but they alternated each day. So one night you did the 20 and you did the 20 and they did the 40.
Okay.
And then they swapped around and the next day you did a 40 and they did a 20. And they shared the bill in that way. But I think you'll do it. I think you'll be able to build the just write it all and then just start trying to do loads of open mics to get the material
Exactly.
right.
That's what I'm doing. So I'm doing like each month. That's what my aim is. Like in November, I'm gonna try 5 minutes, like just a gig, like as much as I can, and solidify those 5 minutes. Then in December, another 5 minute, and then January, and then I'll try to put them all together and have half an hour. Yeah,
and get these open mic nights. There's quite a few out there that will give you like previews and things like that, so you can then perform your 30 minutes at the end of a comedy
That'd be amazing.
thing.
Because it goes fast. Like it's gonna be 10 months now. Yeah.
The other thing people forget to do is to try and apply for the other comedy festivals.
Yeah.
So all the free ones or the ones that don't cost that much to do.
There's Brighton as well that I think I want to do.
Yeah. Leicester's a good one. That's in February.
Yeah, I'm going to this thing on the 10th of November. If you guys are interested, there's this tour festival. Whole like day at the Bill Murray. I think what did they say? There were promoters coming of different festivals to explain to us how to.
I think it's Simon Kane's running it.
Yes,
I think. Yes,
exactly.
That's right. Yeah, great guy. He does the industry podcast. Ask the Industry podcast, which is really good.
That's the one. Yeah.
And he's one of the head honchos of the Comedy Collective as well. So.
Yes.
Good guy to go on. Good
so
side.
I saw that. I was like, okay, I'm going there and trying to meet people to, I'm new to this, to learn about all of this. It's a whole new world. So yeah.
And so other than the comedy, obviously you've got like the short film you did, Connected, and the one you wrote, directed, and produced. Where can people watch that?
On YouTube and Vimeo.
Okay.
Yes.
Have you got a website where people can find out that sort of information?
No.
YouTube channel, just type in
Anoushka Rava. I need more subscribers, by the way. I'm so bad with social media. Please, you guys. I'm trying.
Yeah.
It's so hard.
So YouTube, if you just type in Anoushka Rava into YouTube, her short film that she wrote, directed and produced and acted in.
Yes.
And
there's
YouTube.
also a few videos, comedy videos on my YouTube channel.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to try to do more. So keep looking at that.
Thank you so much for joining me, Anoushka. It's been amazing.
My pleasure.
So that was Anoushka Rava. What an amazing person, great comedian, great actress, great voiceover artist, just great everything. Follow her. YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, all of those things are all in the show notes. But I'm just jumping in here to tell you that since our conversation, she has found a fellow comedian, Hannah Brissenden, to do a double-hander at the Edinburgh Fringe. So each of them will be doing 30 minutes. I'm going to have to get Hannah on the podcast now for sure, definitely, to talk about it. So I should also make that happen. But they will be previewing their Edinburgh shows at the Brighton Fringe on the 14th, 15th, the 16th and 17th of May 2020 at the Caxton Arms. I will update you with all the details as I get them. But join me next week when I speak to Sean McLaughlin, who is just one of the best comedians I've seen on the circuit. His years of hard work have finally paid off when he seized the opportunity to support none other than Ricky Gervais on his world tours of Humanity and most recently, Supernature. But before you do that, go hit 5 stars, leave us a lovely review because I know you want to. And as always, be happy, be strong, and love each other. See you later.